You ever see that? He sips it like this. He barely drank it.
There you go. Generally, I have not been doing stunts here, but, you know.
Watch it. What was that?
It just confirms Flint water is drink.
Get him gallons of that and then monitor his diarrhea.
There is a huge scandal here. It is a very real scandal, and it's actually truly shocking. Barack Obama orchestrated it all. The only justification they had for that was the discredited Steele dossier, which they knew was, but proceeded with anyway. And 3 other sources, which, if it's possible, were even less supported than the Steele dossier. And the latest document dump shows that multiple CIA agents went to John Brennan to say, you can't put that in there. You cannot say that Putin interfered to help Trump. We don't have that. And you cannot rely on the Steele dossier. That thing's totally not credible. And Brennan looked at him and said, one of them, and said, but it has the whiff.
Okay, let's dish some friendly gossip about Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly teaming up to talk about Barack Obama like they're spilling secrets at a school lunch table. They came in hot, ready to call out all the fancy stuff Obama's known for. It wasn't just a chat, it was like they were pulling apart his whole president story, leaving it in pieces. If you thought Obama's "yes, we can" was super cool, hold on tight, because Joe and Megyn are here to shake things up with some epic shade. You might laugh or feel a bit embarrassed for Obama.
Remember when they gave that speech, when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, yes. And then they it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up and stopped a war from happening.
I authorize our forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya in support of an international.
Obama's intel community was about to give Obama a presidential daily brief that totally dismissed, downplayed, poo-pooed, choose your word, the notion that Russia had meaningfully interfered in the 2016 presidential election. That's true. And by the way, Matt has gone well beyond the language that just speaks to manipulation of election infrastructure and pointed out that if you look at what the intel community had been saying, it went well beyond dismissing they're not attacking our election infrastructure. They had doubts up and down the board about whether Russia had done anything more in 16 than it had ever done, which was just kind of attempts to be a menace and sow a little bit of...
When Barack Obama's name came up, Joe Rogan's eyebrow practically jumped off his face. Like it wanted to run away from the conversation. You could tell he was thinking, ugh, this guy again. Joe said Obama was super smooth with words, but also dropped bombs and wars while acting chill. It's like he gave a fancy speech and then did something totally not peaceful. Joe's face looked like he was ready for another boring talk or maybe even a war slideshow.
The truth is, if you add it all up, even the year, if the odds were you're going to be married to your partner for 50 years and 10 of those years could be bad, you know, that's...
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up.
You know, and that's really how it works out.
Is it, Michelle? It's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years and not one was bad. I think she and he married the wrong people.
It takes some serious brain flips to act like Obama was the greatest ever, while ignoring how he kinda played fast and loose with the country's rules. Megyn Kelly didn't hold back, she went straight for the dreamy version of Obama that people still post about online with pretty quotes. You know, the kind where if Obama said something, it's gotta be smart, but Megyn's like, not really. Especially for people hurt by his decisions.
It's fun because things are actually happening. Very different than most of the time when people get elected.
And I will shut down the Federal Department of Education and we will move everything back to the state.
Most of the time when people get elected, they claim all these things when they're running for president. Then they get into office and not much changes.
Individualize education and do it with the love for their children.
And in fact, a lot of what they campaigned on, they don't practice at all. Great example is the Obama administration. The Hope and Change website had to be changed because there was a bunch of stuff in there about whistleblowers.
No, I don't think Mr. Snowden was a patriot. I called for a thorough review of our surveillance operations before Mr. Snowden made these leaks. My preference would have been for a lawful, orderly examination of these laws.
Protecting whistleblowers, which they didn't do at all. It was one of the worst administrations for whistleblowers.
Joe was still stuck on how weird Obama's image is. He talks like he's teaching a class on being awesome, but runs things like he's best buddies with war companies. Joe just couldn't wrap his head around it. the guy who said everyone should get along was also super good at starting fights, all while wearing a fancy tie and using big words. All talk, no action unless you count the missiles hitting weddings far away.
You see the post he put out to celebrate her birthday?
Yeah.
Is it her birthday or their anniversary?
Yeah.
He chose the least attractive photo of her that's ever been released. I mean, this is just wrong. Michelle Obama can look very nice in a photograph. This ain't it. She's got the kerchief on her head. They're about 20 feet apart in this intimate dinner. And he looks great. This is classic, right? Like, he's like, it's a great picture. He's got the 1,000-watt smile. And
Megyn, throwing shade like it's her morning coffee, laughed at how some people still act like Obama's a wise superhero. But instead of helping regular folks, he helped big banks take their money with a grin. That's his hope and change. Bank. Handouts and people losing homes. And that Nobel Peace Prize. Joe says he got it super fast. Like ordering socks online for what? A fancy speech. Then he made the Middle East a big mess. Megyn rolled her eyes so hard she could have powered a windmill. She said the news loved Obama way too much. He could sniffle, and they'd call it history. He used his charm like it was a superpower, a suit, a smile, and a speech that's all he needed. Joe said Obama could talk for an hour and sound deep. But it's like eating a salad that looks good but leaves you hungry, pretty, but empty.
Obama was my favorite president. He was the best spokesman, other than Clinton, of all time. Now I think he's a liar. I look at that thing of him
Who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
That's not what he said. He said,
And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
and you guys are still doing goofy, like taking people out of context and not knowing that people are going to make YouTube clips showing what he actually said versus you, and it's going to undermine your credibility.
Then there's Obamacare, which Joe called the world's biggest paperwork puzzle. It was supposed to fix health stuff, but it just made insurance crazy expensive. The website they made, it was like a hamster built it on super slow internet. Megyn giggled, saying they spent tons of money on a site that crashed all the time. Joe teased Obama's cool tech guy image, but that website flopped worse than the economy in 2008. Which, oh yeah, happened when Obama was in charge, but he looked cool, so people let it slide. Megyn called out folks still holding onto their Obama posters like they're part of a fan club. Meanwhile, his war plans were like saying sorry with pretty words, then quietly sending bombs, and the news. Megyn said they treated him like a king, while he dodged blame like a pro at a dodgeball game.
Barack Obama, he decided to drop a post on X today, and I thought, okay, maybe in the wake of the Pete Hegseth presser, he's going to say something like, no matter how you feel about the Iranian strike, hats off to our, boys in blue, our guys in the bombers. He went a different way. This is what it was.
Curious how you're thinking about these eulogies specifically in the moment and all the things that you just brought out.
If Obama messed up, the news called it a learning moment. If he spilled juice, they'd say, Obama starts a talk about cleaning. Joe couldn't stop talking about Fast and Furious, not the movie, but a real plan where Obama's team gave guns to bad guys and hoped it'd be fine. It was like a silly movie idea, but real. Megyn brought up Benghazi with a super sharp smile. Obama loved looking good in photos, like a star in a crisis. Joe made fun of his perfect image fancy suits, sunglasses, strolling like he's in a magazine, hope and change, more like hype and trouble. Joe was shocked Obama could tell people to get along while starting fights with fancy words. He'd say, chill, everyone, after tossing a match into a big argument.
Obama did it, and it's disgusting. It's a disgusting lie. Let's play it.
Said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists. Okay?
See, that's crazy. I have never seen that last part of it.
Because the news has said that lie over and over and over and over.
And the economy. Megyn laughed at anyone calling Obama a money genius. Things grew slower than a snail. People's paychecks didn't budge. Only super rich folks got richer. Like they were playing a real-life board game with cities, Joe said. Student loans got huge, turning colleges into debt machines and students into workers with no money. And the Iran deal, Joe said it was like trusting a kid yelling, "I hate you," to be nice about dangerous stuff. It was like giving a kid a water gun, but it's actually a fire hose. Megyn said Obama acted like he fixed everything with that deal, but he just pushed the problem later, and the smugness, oh man. Obama's charm was like a magician's trick, making you miss how he sneaked away your freedom.
Speaking of Barack Obama, he decided to drop a post on X today, and I thought, okay, maybe in the wake of the Pete Hegseth presser, he's going to say something like, no matter how you feel about the Iranian strike, hats off to our, boys in blue.
Go back to that day 10 years ago. What I think binds it together, all these different strands. A case upholding health care, a case declaring same-sex marriage part of our constitutional protections, of mourning. I think what pulls it all together is that no one person did any of it.
So he's sitting around on a June Thursday thinking about himself and his glory days. And to your point, Smug, I'm starting to warm up to Michelle Obama's POV. I mean,
Obama tried to act like a regular guy, visiting diners and holding burgers like they're from outer space, or having beer summits to look friendly, like a drink would make people forget wars, bad deals, or money problems. Cheers to that. Megyn snickered at how Michelle was brought up to dodge tough questions, criticize Obama. Suddenly it's about his family or even the White House dog. Joe thought it was hilarious how Obama went from president to Netflix star, like it was no big deal. It's not shows, it's hiding mistakes with cool music. Nobody sees the mess behind the scenes.
This is the accusation. They're throwing around the word treason.
I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016.
They're saying that Obama knew that Russia did not meddle in the election, did not have any impact in the election.
For 5 years.
And then there's been some incredible clips of all these different news reporters, CNN and MSNBC, just saying over and over and over again, clear evidence of...
And those book deals, Joe said every page is like a super polished speech about himself. It's like, here's my awesome story, please cheer. Megyn pointed out he gets paid tons to talk about how poor people should share while living in a huge house. It's like a big act. Joe laughed at how Obama stays out of trouble in public, but pulls strings behind the scenes, popping up like an ad to remind everyone he's cool. He skips talking about the bad economy, fights, war mistakes, or healthcare chaos.
more fuel on the fire that there's a potential, maybe a divorce or some sort of rockiness going on in the Obamas' relationship. They both posted these mirrored, very choreographed Valentine's Day messages on X, but he was just seen at an LA, the other basketball team, the Clippers, thank you, game without her. And then on Tuesday, he was spotted eating out at a fancy dinner in Sherman Oaks with his both daughters, Malia and Sasha, but again...
Megyn giggled about how other leaders try to copy Obama's cool vibe. Like it's magic spray that makes them seem smart, even if their ideas are old and boring. Joe ended with the big twist. Obama promised to be super open, but was super sneaky. Obsessed with looking perfect. You didn't see his mistakes because they were hidden like a pro editor fixed a bad photo. Megyn nailed it. Obama's like a computer screen saver, pretty but not real. He wasn't a hero, he was just a great talker, a story sold with awesome ads, a speech that turned into a president.
There is what Obama said. On the same video, there is what Trump actually said. It's disgusting. It's a disgusting lie. And he's talking about George Washington. He said George Washington had slaves. Let's play it.
On both sides of a white supremacist rally. Very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down a very, very important statue from Robert E. Lee to another name. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Excuse me, how about Thomas Jefferson? Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists.
The news has said that lie over and over and over and over and over again. The mainstream corporate-controlled news that wanted this narrative said that over and over and over again. They repeat.
Joe kept shaking his head, laughing like he saw a dog try to ride a bike. Once you get past the practice speeches, big suits, fake confidence, and piles of fancy words, you're left with a guy who somehow got everyone to think being cool was enough to run a country. He sold charm like it was on sale, and America bought it big time. Not once, but twice. It's like the whole country fell for a fake watch that looks shiny but doesn't work, while everything goes wrong in the background. Wow,